Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So this video is going to be, a lot of the videos that I've made over the last couple of weeks have been answering your questions and just sort of expanding on some of these themes that have been coming up a lot in the comments as well as in my one-on-one coaching sessions. So this is another one. So this is what I call walking between worlds, what I've been calling walking between worlds since I stepped on this path like quite a long time ago. And this is the 3D, 5D, you know, and what's going on here. And, you know, one of the most difficult things about this path in the beginning, and even, you know, throughout a lot of it, is that I'm having, you know, I'm looking around and I'm seeing this 3D reality, right? The reality that I've always known with my friends, with my family, you know, with my spouse, my work, traffic, you know, the kids' school, whatever else. And then at the same time, I'm having these, these higher dimensional experiences, you know, in dreams or in meditation or just in daily life. You know, I'm feeling my masculine's energy around me, or my telepathy is fully coming online, or I'm just feeling everybody's energy even stronger now, and my, you know, my awareness as an empath is just like super intense, or I'm starting to see, you know, auras and, you know, all of these sort of things. My clairvoyance is online, my claircognizant is online. I just know things all the time, all of these sort of things. And although the more we get into the path, the more those higher awarenesses become natural for us, right? But in regard to having these sort of mystical experiences and then looking over here and seeing the 3D reality, and these things, they don't mesh, right? They don't mesh. And now we don't know how to conversate with the people that we've always been conversating with, right? For however long. And now we feel like there's this tip happening and we can't go back, but we haven't gone forward. And so we're sort of in this in-between land, which is what I call in-between worlds, walking in between worlds. So really, you know, all twin flames, if you're on awakening, you know, twin flame or not, this is just part of the process, is a natural part of the process. And so the first thing I want to say is to really, you know, be gentle with yourself, be patient and loving with yourself. There's a reason that this path takes time. It's because you're integrating, right? You are literally shifting vibrations, you're shifting frequency. And as this is happening, you're coming into a new way of living, you know. One of my OG subscribers asked me like a few weeks ago, how do we live a normal life, you know, once we have shifted into the 5th dimensional frequency, once we have come into inner union, you know, even in the midway stages of this path, how are we supposed to live a normal life as we're going through the awakening process? You know, we're seeing things sort of falling away. So I wish I had like an answer for that, to be like, oh, you just have to do this. And you just, honestly, this is an organic process. And so as I've said with a lot of my videos, it's just about trusting the process and trusting that you are being led by the soul that is you to a better timeline. But within this, there are going to be a lot of those times when things just feel straight up out of alignment, right? When people and situations just feel like, what's the deal? Like that, there's no resonance whatsoever, you know? And this is super uncomfortable, you know? I'm not gonna say that it isn't. It's super uncomfortable, but it does get easier. It does get easier. And as you shift more and more into inner union, into that higher consciousness state, which is that state of oneness, of interconnectedness and unconditional love, then we start to really just honor where every single person is on their path. We start to have the awareness that everyone's soul is guiding them through every single experience. And those experiences may not resonate with us. Those experiences may feel completely out of alignment with us. Our mind may disagree with lots of things that are going on. But that is still looking at things through the separation lens of good and bad and right and wrong and hot and cold and on and off. And so once we've shifted out of that separation consciousness, that separation paradigm that we've been experiencing, but you don't need to anymore because that's why you're on the ascension path, then you just come into that state of oneness where you're just very like, there's no judgment anymore, right? There's just, this is what that soul is experiencing and chose to experience for whatever reason. And I don't have to understand it, you know, I don't have to understand it, but I need to honor it, right? I need to honor that, you know, we all choose as souls to experience all sorts of things for all different types of reasons for our expansion. And although we are all one, right? We are all one as source experiencing itself in billions of different ways. We are also individuated. And so we are all having certain experiences for the experience itself. And, you know, we don't know what's happened in everyone else's past lifetimes or what's led them to the experiences that they're having today. And so once we shift into that inner union, as I said, it's like, yeah, I might not be able to communicate with you in the same way, but I honor your path, right? And so this does start to get easier the more the ascension process keeps moving forward, right? You'll start to feel glimpses of this, if you haven't already, when you're starting to move into the void and in and out of that neutrality state, which does come in stages, or not stages, but spirals, as I've said before, and sometimes I say it comes in waves, whatever resonates with you visually. But we are going to have those moments of like, things are feeling really aligned and then nothing's feeling aligned, right? This is also that normal part of the process because, you know, we're shifting. And as we're shifting into that higher vibratory state, which is what we are as souls, we have to do this in a way that we're not going, you know, that we're not like shocking the mind completely. We're not shocking the emotional body completely or the physical body. You know, this is why this thing kind of moves in a slower pace, is so that we can adapt to the changes that are happening. And so as these shifts and changes are happening, yeah, it's going to feel like you're walking in between two completely different realities and you're not quite sure if you belong in either one. And that's totally normal and everybody goes through it, right? And so it's just like having that awareness of, okay, this is just what it is, right? It's being in that acceptance place, which is so, so important on the awakening path. It's important on any path, but on the awakening path, so much of this is just being like in the acceptance of what is. You know, I'm not judging it. I'm not thinking that it's good or bad or right or wrong. It just is. This is part of being in that neutral state of just being in allowance, being in the flow, and being in that surrender state of this is the process that is shifting me to that next rung on the ladder. And I'm trusting what this process is doing and how long this process is taking, right? It's when the mind interferes and the ego starts fussing and ranting and stomping its feet and all that sort of stuff that we kind of feel ourselves getting yanked around like a Raggedy Ann doll, as I say. And so we need to have that awareness of this is just, again, my ego and my mind trying to understand things, which is totally natural, but at the same time having the awareness of, but my mind and my ego don't really understand what's going on, and that's okay, right? Because I'm shifting back into my soul frequency, back into my soul resonance. I'm shifting out of separation consciousness and back into unity consciousness. And I'm aware that that takes time. And as with all the other aspects of this thing that I keep talking about, it's okay if I don't understand exactly what's going on, right? You're not going to understand every single aspect of this path all the time. You probably will when you look back in hindsight. Once you come into inner union, then you'll get it and you'll be like, oh, da-da-da. But when you're in the throes of all of this stuff, yeah, it's going to feel like you're in between places and nothing really fits. And why can't I talk to my family the way I used to? And Why is it now that it seems like all we talk about is the weather or who won the football game, and anything beyond that, we're having a difficult time understanding each other? You know, it's that feeling, and it's just, it's an uncomfortable feeling, and it feels like you're kind of losing touch with the reality that you've always known, and potentially with people and all of those sort of things. And so I just wanted to hit on that in this video and just let you guys know that as you're going through this stage, it's completely normal. It is uncomfortable, and just having that, you know, patience with yourself and having that allowance, that this is part of that process of shifting into that higher vibratory state. And so even though it's going to be really uncomfortable for however long you're in this, you know, in between worlds thing is what I call it, you will be gradually shifting out of that. And as you're shifting out of that, you're shifting into that state of just unconditional love and that free flow state that is just, as I said, and you're just honoring of everybody and everything and everybody's path and all of those sort of things. And when you're in that state, the communication becomes easier because you're not trying to communicate in the way that you used to with friends and family and, you know, and people who potentially haven't come along on the path with you, because this is what we're talking about, having people that are still operating in 3D while you're shifting into the 5D. But this becomes easier, you know, like the 3D 5D split doesn't mean that we're like bolting off planet into some other place, as I said, and we're leaving all of the 3D people and experiences behind. These are two frequencies that are existing side by side. They can completely interact with each other and the whole thing. It's just that one is operating in unity conscious and the other is operating in separation consciousness. And this can be difficult to navigate as you are shifting into unity consciousness, because it feels like you can't go back to where you were. And so it can be hard to have those same interactions, you know, and dialogues and all of those sort of things that you used to. It does get easier, right? That does start to, you know, kind of, I was gonna say flatline, but that's definitely not the right word. It just starts to ease, you know, because as you're coming into inner union, you're just going to start to feel more balanced. You're going to start feeling more calm. You're just going to start feeling more in the flow. And like I say, in like that freedom state. And you're just in that place of just, yeah, like it's kind of like a live and let live, I guess, kind of if I have to come up with some sort of saying. And it's just in like, it's just a very honoring, loving place. It's like you start seeing how the entire matrix works. You start seeing how the entire 3D works. And there are times within this path that you feel like everything is just so screwed up or out of alignment or all of those sort of things as we're going through the ascension path, right? But that's still separation consciousness. And that goes away when you come into unity consciousness, because then it's just like I said, you're just in this place of just really like honoring everything and everyone for what their soul is going through and what their soul is choosing to experience and expand in this lifetime. So that's enough. You're not going to be stuck in between the 3D and the 5D the whole time, right? This is just like another shift that you're going through. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that you have an awesome day.